We have the most overrated team in the NFL identifying itself this week. Baltimore Ravens, come on down. The most overrated team in the NFL. Our friends at DraftKings released over-under win totals for the 2026 season this week. And the Ravens are tied for the highest win total in the NFL. After winning 8 games and missing the playoffs and firing their coach, Baltimore sits at 10.5 wins alongside teams such as Seattle and the Rams and the 49ers and the Bills and the Chargers and the Eagles and the Lions and the Chiefs. They also are the favorites to win the AFC next season. That is wild when you consider the concerns that are there with this coaching staff. Jesse Minter seems like a really good fit for Baltimore. When the hire happened, we loved it. But he's a first-time head coach. You shouldn't be attaching these types of expectations onto a first-time head coach. There are only 2 first-time head coaches who have won the Super Bowl in their first year. Don McCafferty with the Baltimore Colts, 1970. He was taking over for Don Shula. Don Shula just left to take the Miami Dolphins job, took the Baltimore Colts to the Super Bowl in 69, lost to Joe Namath and the Jets, one of the biggest upsets in NFL history. So he adopted a wagon of a team. And then the other example is George Seifert, who inherited the champion Niners of 1988. And the Niners repeated with Seifert as the coach in 89. That is not what Jesse Minter is inheriting. He is not inheriting a frontrunner. He's inheriting a team that fired its coach, that missed the playoffs, and finished with a losing record. And he also didn't add any head coaching experience on this staff. Not just talking about coordinators, position coaches too, or even support staffers. Nobody has NFL head coaching experience on this coaching staff. And then there's offensive coordinator Declan Doyle, who did not inspire any confidence when meeting with the media this week. Here he was describing the difference in his offensive coordinator job in Baltimore now versus being Ben Johnson's OC in Chicago last season.
Yeah, obviously it's a very different job. My job in Chicago was to support Ben and support our offense and try to get our guys on the same page. I was a communicator, I was a collaborator, and to try to build it, just like Jesse said, I was trying to build it when Ben wasn't in the room so that when he stepped in, things hit the ground running, the table was set, and we could save a lot of time and be efficient. And then whenever he wasn't in the room, I was running that meeting. But at the end of the day, he was the final stamp on anything we were doing as an offense. Certainly, we all had ideas as a staff, but it all kind of came down to what he wanted to do.
Yeah, I built things when he wasn't in the room. And when he wasn't in the room, I ran some stuff. But it was mainly him. And now he's the guy running the show. And the first-time head coach is also the defensive play caller, too. So a lot of responsibility is going to be on Declan Doyle, who is incredibly young and inexperienced. He was with Ben Johnson for 1 year. It's not like he goes back to Ben Johnson's time in Detroit and that he's a Ben Johnson disciple. He was a tight ends coach 2 seasons ago in Denver. Oh, but he's still prepared for this. Why? He tells us, seriously, mental reps is what he says. Here's more from the Ravens' new OC.
The one area where I have prepared to actually call it every game that I've been a part of in the NFL, I go out, 3 hours early and I'll walk the field and kind of basically simulate 4 drives And I've done that since I got in the league in 2019 as a quality control coach in New Orleans, because I knew that I was really young when I got hired there. I was 22, and I knew that the first time I was going to call plays probably wasn't going to be in a smaller setting. It was probably going to be with the bright lights, and I felt like I needed to prepare for that early. So in that way, I've kind of been preparing just to be able to call it and kind of how your mind works. But really, the work during the week is what counts, and that's been a part of really every job that I've had.
Just so I'm understanding what he's saying there, D-Day, what I heard was a man sitting at his introductory press conference trying to convince us he's the right guy, that he is prepared to be the offensive coordinator for a team picked to win the AFC, favored to win the AFC. And part of the reason why he is arguing he's prepared, he went out 3 hours before the game and just stood there and took mental reps as if he was calling the game. That's something I need to value. That's something I'm supposed to hear as a Ravens fan and feel assured by. That is crazy. When he said it, I was like, looking around. He really just say that? He really just tried to tell me that him going out on the field as a quality control coach 3 hours before the game and doing mental reps as if he's a play caller is going to prepare him for being the offensive coordinator for an NFL team. Alrighty then. And that brings us to Lamar Jackson, who just might be a ticking time bomb. He's entering his 9th NFL season. Plus, was a mainstay all 3 seasons at Louisville. He played all 3 years there. He's already shown signs of wear and tear. He's missed 15 games over the last 5 years. There isn't a great track record for mobile quarterbacks being successful once they approach 10 years in the league. Also, can we be honest about something for a second? Lamar isn't exactly known for his work ethic. Not specifically citing the story that we don't know the validity of that dropped late in the season, December, talking about the video games and the late nights and falling asleep in meetings. You can put as much validity into that as you want. This is a fact. This is something that's undeniable. Lamar Jackson never shows up to involuntary meetings. Sometimes he doesn't even show up to meetings he's supposed to be at. Remember last year when he got fined $750,000, $750K for missing out on a workout or a couple of workouts? That's something that concerns you as well. When it's that quarterback who's already shown some wear and tear, who's approaching year 10 and has a new coordinator, and that new coordinator is very green, and the expectations are crazy, and you won 8 games last year. When that number dropped at 10.5 wins, tied for the best in the league, and the Ravens with the best odds to win the AFC, it was easy to label the most overrated team in the NFL.